and welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today I am going to be rebatching and making whipped soap using all my shavings. I get a bunch of questions about what I do with all my soap shavings when I clean up my bars. Well, I've made confetti soap in the past, and I've just rebatched it, just normally melt it down, but today I am going to try my hand at whipping this and making a floating soap. So what I've got here is just under, it's not quite 2 pounds. It's about 1 3/4 pounds of soap shavings. So I'm going to dump those right on in here. Oh my, they're jumping. Clean up my mess. And some of these are old. I've got charcoal soap in here and everything. So after it's all melted, I'm going to be adding some color to this. And I'm going to wait until it's melted and see how it smells before I pick a fragrance, if I'm going to fragrance it at all. So anyway, let me get that all in here and to this. So I am going to be adding, some of these shavings are pretty old, some are kind of fresh, so it's quite a mix. I'm going to be adding some coconut milk here. I just reconstituted some organic coconut milk powder, and you can add up to 8 ounces per pound of soap. I'm adding about 5 ounces because some of these are fresh, and you can always add more later, but you can't take it out. And it'll just take longer for this to firm up the more liquid I add. So if I'm trying to get away with as minimum as I can and still get it liquidy enough to use my mixer here to whip it. So this is 10 ounces of coconut milk that I'm going to go ahead and pour on here. And I'm going to add some sodium lactate. This is supposed to make this more fluid and pourable. So I'm going to go ahead and add about, a nice generous teaspoon. There we go. So we've got our sodium lactate in there, our coconut milk, and I'm going to put the lid on this. I have it on low. And I'm going to put the lid on this and just let it sit for a while and start to melt. And then when it's ready, I'm going to hand stir it until it gets a little, mostly melted and fluid. And then we're going to come in and start whipping. All right. It's just been a few minutes, and I just want to mush this around and make sure all the soap shavings are getting wet. Boy, that seems like a lot of liquid, but we'll see. And the nice thing is the liquid isn't going to hurt anything. It's just going to take these longer to, dry up and cure. Let that liquid evaporate back out. But if it makes it smooth and creamy so I can whip it and work with it, I guess that's a good thing. All right, lid back on. All right, we're back, and it's been about another 15 minutes, and we're melting down really nicely here. Turns this hideous sort of beigey gray color. It's got to get ugly before it gets better. And I'm going to keep melting this until all of these chunks are totally melted. I want this as absolutely smooth as I can get it. And for the color, I love this color, Synergy from Nurture Soap, and I have a Nurture Soap link below in the description box. I am an affiliate, so if you want to check that out, it'd be awesome. But this is lovely, this color. So I'm going to disperse some into oils so it'll blend in really well. Once I get all the chunks melted, this is a good project to do if you've got other things to do in your soap room and other stuff, because it's just a lot of sit around and wait while it melts. Not a lot of action going on here. All right, well, this is melting. I'm going to show you what I have here. I made this, and at the end of this whipped soap rebatch video, I'm going to put how I made these. These are also from soap scraps. I just added a little liquid to them, and actually really hot liquid, and let them sit until the shavings got soft and I could roll these little balls. So that's what they look like on the inside. And then I rolled them in mica, And I think that I'm actually going to use these little rebatched soap balls in this, because this is not a lot of soap in here and I need to plump it up to fit into my mold. And why not just go full on rebatch? So these are so cute on the inside. It was a lot of colorful soap shreds. So I think I'm going to use these. And at the end of this video, I'll show you how I made these little balls. Okay, we're back. It's been about half an hour total, and you can see how much it's shrunk down here. I'm going to go ahead and just use this to kind of break up those chunks. So this is definitely very fluid. My goal is to get all the little pieces melted. We're getting really close. I'm thinking maybe another 15 or 20 minutes and we'll have this all melted and I'll be ready to add my color. Right, we're back. It's probably been about a total of maybe 50 minutes on this to melt it all down. I'm going to start whipping. I've just turned the heat off, but of course this is going to have radiant heat and keep it warm while we work here, adding the color and the fragrance. So I'm going to give it a little whip here. Get my little color. This is my Synergy from Nurture soap that I'm going to add in here. Hopefully I have enough. I'll add more if I need to. The plan is I'm going to spoon some of this in my mold and put some of those little rebatched little balls I made that I've rolled in mica in there and kind of layer it up. And then I do have a piping bag that if I have a little extra fluff, I'll pipe on top. So we'll just see how far we can go with this. Now I'm going to get back to whipping this. I want to whip it and get a lot of air incorporated so that it's a floaty soap. And that's the whole point of whipped soap, is that it floats in water. And the only way it does that is if you incorporate air. So let's whip away. That is looking pretty awesome. So let me see if I can scoot this back. And here is my Essential Depot soap mold. All right, I'm back with my Rebatch loaf, and let me tell you, I put too much liquid in there because this was very mushy. It's been sitting out of the mold for several days now, and it's still, I have to be very gentle with this. But look at how groovy that looks, and it smells pretty. So I'm gonna cut this. It's kind of a nightmare. It's not super pretty, but you know what? This was a decent attempt at whipped. I think next time if I use a little less fluid, this is a great option for those leftover shavings. So it's kind of funky looking but fun. Little air pockets in there that we'll fill in later. But let's just get a couple of slices here and see. And it's still got a lot of moisture in there, so definitely use too much fluid in that. So use less liquid. That is the learning point here. Kind of cool though. Don't know what to call these, but I think they're cute. And they are lightweight. It's very whippy, so that's cool. All right, here's a little sample piece, and now let's see if it's gonna float. It floats. There's our whipped soap. It's floaty, and I've got a little scrap here. Let's see how it lathers. Definitely floats, even with those little galaxy balls in there. Whoops, it's coming apart, but it's lathering really nice. It's very creamy. So it's good soap. It worked. A little messy, learning curve there, but it worked. So I'm going to pour some water over these and let them soak for a little bit. And I want to make little, almost like a soap dough. I want to make little balls, embeds out of them that I'm going to roll in mica. So I'll have little ball mica balls, I don't know. But anyway, I want to get the colors kind of mixed up here, and then I'll use them as a fun embed in some of my soaps. And it's funny because all the different fragrances that I've used, they sort of meld together, and this all together just smells kind of pretty. It doesn't have a dominant, I might take that out, a little big chunk, but it doesn't have a conflict of scents. So that's very interesting to me, that it's not just a total, car crash of smells. It's actually, it smells kind of good. So here are just several batches worth of shreds, and I don't like to waste anything. I am very frugal, and so all this wonderful good soap, and some of it's aloe vera soap, some of it's goat milk soap, so I would definitely label this if people have different sensitivities. These bars would contain everything, so not good for anyone with allergy issues, but it's just, so cool. I can't put it to waste. So now I'm going to go get my water, my hot water. Actually, I'm going to pour it back in here because this has a nice tight fitting lid. Now that I've got it all mixed up, I pour a little in there and go get my water, and we'll pour it over in layers. Okay, so I've got about a cup of water. I don't know if I'm going to use it all. It's steaming. I don't know if you can see that. Not quite boiling, but just put a couple of tablespoons there, and then layer on. And I'm going to let this sit for maybe a couple of hours, and then we'll come back and see if I have like a soap dough consistency where I can get some nice little balls formed out of it. And I don't want them wet. I just want them gooey, pliable. So I think that's all. I didn't even use all the water. You can see there. So I'm going to put the lid on with trap some of the heat in there, and let these sit for an hour or so, and we'll come back and see if we can make some little moldable, I just want like little stone-shaped balls that I'm going to roll in mica and use as embeds later on. All right, it's been a couple of hours here. So I'm going to open this up and see what we've got. If I have any standing water, I'm going to drain it off. Looks like the soap has absorbed all the water, so let's go. Oh, there we go. It's going to be perfect. Look at that. All right, so it's almost, here, let me grab a handful and show you. It's almost like a soap dough. It's very pliable. So I'm just going to make various sized little rock-shaped balls. I doubt they're going to be perfectly round. We'll see what we can do. But I want to squeeze them really hard to get, I want them solid. I don't want them to be like little shreds. So there we go. There's one of our little colorful balls. And I'm just going to set them over here on this paper to dry. And I'm going to try this without gloves on because the gloves were getting sticky on here. We'll see if I need them. So that was a really messy and kind of relaxing project. Here are all my little rock embeds. I have no idea what I'm going to call these, if they're marbles, if they're geological, or I don't know if they look like rocks or marbles. But anyway, they're really cool and I can't wait to use them in a soap. So what I ended up doing was pouring my hammered copper mica in this bowl, and then as I made the balls, I dropped them in here and just swished them around and then kind of patted them off and put them over here. So, and they're just going to sit here and kind of dry and firm up. And it was very messy. In fact, it was so messy that I couldn't turn my camera back on. My fingers were just covered. So, sorry you missed the process, but it was just me rolling little balls around, and now I'm going to clean up.